Hello there, guys, and welcome to the Final Lap podcast. Now, some big news has come out of Formula One this week. We are going to Las Vegas. Now, this is a rumour that's been circulating in the paddock for the past few weeks, maybe even months, actually. Rumours about us going to Las Vegas, a third race in America. Since Liberty Media took over Formula One back in 2017, there's been a real push in the American market trying to promote Formula One over there and sort of get their attention on F1 and make it big over there, because F1 has tried in the past and it's fair to say it did fail quite a bit. Indianapolis 2005 didn't exactly help proceedings, but 2012 came around, got the Texas Grand Prix, the US Grand Prix came back on the calendar, which was brilliant news. And then, of course, we're going to Miami this year, and now next year we are going to Las Vegas. Now, this has received mixed reception from the entire F1 fan base, so I'm just going to give my thoughts on it, give some details, and perhaps seeing which track or race will be replacing it, should it replace another Grand Prix. So my overall initial thought on this is I don't mind it. I really don't. I know people are like, well, we should be going to, I want to go back to, Sepang. I want to go back to Germany. I think the race should be in South Africa. I'm all for that. I would love to see a race back in in Germany. Sepang, brilliant track. And of course, Kyalami, South Africa, needs a Grand Prix. But I've seen the whole layout of the track, and again, people are like, it looks a bit boring. I think it looks pretty good. There's not a lot of corners, which a lot of people criticise the latest tracks for, all the street circuits like Baku, Saudi Arabia, for example. All the new ones coming onto the calendar, that's street circuits. There's a lot of twisty turns, not a lot of opportunities for overtaking. And as these two races in 2022 have already shown us, well, early doors anyways, but still positive signs anyway, that these cars are quite good following one another. And that's the whole point of these regulations. So the whole layout of the track looks very, very quick. I think there's excess of 219, 220 mile an hour. These cars are expected to go at around the strip of Las Vegas. So I think we're going to have some very exciting racing. Like I said, there's not a lot of corners. There's good opportunities for overtaking. Yeah, all right, though, there will be some slow speed corners in there. I think there's one or two there or thereabouts. But I think it will produce some very exciting racing. Now, when a new race first gets announced, of course, people are very skeptical. They're like, I don't agree with this. I don't know why we're going over there and blah blah blah. But like I said before, that's what Liberty Media want. They want to push the American market more and more. I think a race around Las Vegas might do quite well, to be fair with you. I'm not really that bothered. And as well, a negative side on, well, for us Europeans anyway, for most Europeans, it's going to be a very, very early doors race. The Las Vegas organisers have said that this is going to be a Saturday night race, which is very rare in Formula One. I think it's only happened once or twice in the history of the sport. Saturday night over in Las Vegas is going to be the date for it. Over here in Europe, you're looking at about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, perhaps early doors, maybe even mid-afternoon for those in like Australia, New Zealand, those guys that do get up at 3, 4 in the morning every single race weekend, they're warriors over there. So for me, I'm not complaining, getting up at 3, 4 in the morning to watch a Grand Prix. It's going to be weird, it's going to be difficult, but I'm up for it. I do like an early Grand Prix, so I'm excited for that. I really am. So I'm not complaining, but I know there are a few people, grumbling at that. But we shouldn't be complaining, because like I said before, those guys over in Australia, Asia and all them, they are getting up very, very early to watch races every single race weekend. Us, on the other hand, we've got ours at like 2, 3 in the afternoon. Or the odd time, we might get a late race, and very, very rare we get an early race nowadays. It's only Australia and Japan we're going to be getting up early for. So I'm excited for this. I'm very, very excited. I do like a new Grand Prix. I'm on the plus side of it. I'm not on the negative side. I can see why people are a bit negative on this, and there's a possibility it could add another race onto the calendar, which Stefano Domenicali has said that there is a chance, or there could be a push of getting F1 up to 30 races a season, which I think that's way too much. I think now is too much, and we're only on 23. Well, possibly 22. I think it's far too much. Any more than that, we need to go back, not forwards. So there is a possibility we could be losing 1 or 2 races in the future. That's if they do want to go back, but He didn't say that the target is 30, but they said that because of the interest and stuff, that there could be a chance of having 30 races in a single season. Do I think that's going to be the case? I don't think it will be. I don't think we'll get to 30 races. I think it'll be impossible to do 30 races. I really, really do. I think a lot of teams and drivers and team personnel will just go, look, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't be away from my family. 30 races is a lot. 23 races is a lot, but 30 races is just ridiculous. So, what races could be replacing Las Vegas if it is going to be replacing a one on the F1 calendar? So they haven't given us any confirmation of whether this is going to be replacing a race or not. It's only the back end of the month, about October, November time, we'll see the 2023 calendar. Then we'll have a rough idea as to who is, if it is going to be placing a Grand Prix on the current calendar, who is it going to be? So I've got a list of the tracks and when their contract runs out, and there's a couple of interesting ones. So probably the closest one is, I think, is the Monaco Grand Prix. It's down here is 2021 with the contract, but I think it's been extended to a bit further. I think it's up until 2025, I believe. The French Grand Prix, Paul Ricard, that contract runs out this year in 2022, so there's a chance that Paul Ricard could be replaced. The Austria Grand Prix, that's down until 2022, but I think there's talks of an extension with that one. That's a good track. Great Britain, I mean, that's only until 2024. I don't think that will be replaced. I really, really don't. I think they'll find a way to extend that. And good chance of possibility staying on for a bit longer because they are making some decent renovations to Silverstone. Now, this is an interesting one. Belgium. It's only given F1 $22 million to host a Grand Prix, and it's only got a contract till 2022, and there is talks that it could be dropped from the calendar. Now, this isn't saying that's going to be replacing the Las Vegas Grand Prix, because Spa is normally held around August time after the summer break. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is going to be held at around, I think it's Thanksgiving weekend at the end of November. So timescale is not going to fit. But if one has to make way for another one, it doesn't have to be in the same time frame. It can be at any point, whether it's at the start of the season or at the end of the season. So there's Belgium and there's France that's got a good chance of being dropped from the calendar. Netherlands, they've only got a contract till 2023. I can't see them disappearing. The amount of money and the revenue that they're going to be raking in from Max Verstappen alone, why would you turn that down? Why would you get rid of that track? That's the only reason we're going back to the Netherlands, purely because of Max Verstappen. Singapore, I think that extended its contract quite recently. Mexico, now this is an interesting one. This has only got until the 2022 Grand Prix, then the contract runs out. So perhaps Mexico could be making way for Las Vegas. Then you got other ones like Brazil, that's there until 2025. Abu Dhabi, there until 2030. China, they haven't been on the calendar for a good couple of years, but it is coming back in 2023, as well as adding Qatar onto that list. So there's a lot of races planned in the next couple of years. Like I said, we've got Las Vegas, we've got China, and we've got Qatar coming on the calendar next year. So is that going to be making way for other Grand Prix? Is France going to be dropped? Is Belgium going to be dropped? Is a race going to be cut its contract early? Singapore, is that going to be dropped? Monaco, is that going to go? Australia, is that going to be? Who knows? Like, there's so many opportunities, for Grand Prix to drop their races to make way for these races coming up, or everyone could just leave it and we could have 26 races next year, which I would say it's madness. 26 races is just unimaginable. It really, really is. But we have already lost the Russian Grand Prix. I think that was going to be staying on the calendar for a bit longer, but that's been dropped. So there's one race out of the equation. But there is, like I say, there is good chances of them coming back. Malaysia and Sepang, they're apparently in talks of coming back on the calendar. So I can see where Dominicali is coming from by saying there's a good chance of 30 races on the calendar. But I do hope that that's not the case, and we do have to lose a couple of races. If we do lose the French Grand Prix, am I that bothered? Not really. Le Castellet, it's not a good track at all. If I lose Belgium, I'll be gutted because that's on my bucket list to go to. I really, really want to go to Spa for a Grand Prix, so I do hope that doesn't go, and it's a brilliant track. But nevertheless, it's exciting to see a new Grand Prix on the calendar with a good chance of losing one or two races in the future. We'll have to wait and see on that. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about that. Are you happy with the Las Vegas Grand Prix? Do you think that we should be going elsewhere? Are you not happy with it? Tell us why. And what race do you think could be replacing the Las Vegas Grand Prix? That's if it hasn't been announced between now and when this video goes live. So thank you very much for watching this sort of like mini snippet thing. If you do want to listen to the rest of the podcast, there is more talking points I'm going to be discussing in the rest of this podcast. Link down below will be there. Spotify and Google Podcasts will be there. I might get Apple Podcasts. I need to settle that up for it to go live on Apple Podcasts. If it's not on Apple this time around, it should be live next time around. A new thing I'm doing, sort of doing one segment from the podcast, putting it on YouTube to try and get the word out there about the podcast, and then some other talking points I'll be doing purely on the Spotify, Google, and Apple edition. But thank you very much, guys. If you want to subscribe to the Final Lap Podcast YouTube channel, then please do so. I will appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.